to episode 2 of Go to the Assistant Principal's Office, a seismic shift. My name is Carrie Weishart. I'm an assistant principal at DeKalb High School in Waterloo, Indiana, and I have been an educator for 25 years. The exciting part is I have been in administration for the last 3 years. I was one who said I will never go to the dark side, but now that I'm here, I absolutely love it. And one of my goals when I came into administration was to shift the way that students, teachers, parents, the community see the principal's office. If you haven't checked out episode 1, please go back and do so. I talk about how I made it fun and meaningful, or still do, make it fun and meaningful to visit the assistant principal's office, knowing that I am a disciplinarian, but I also want it to be a place where students are rewarded for doing the right thing, but also rewarded for doing absolutely nothing at all, just letting them know that they are valuable and belong just because they're human beings. So today we're starting episode 2, and episode 2, I'm going to talk about 4 words. And what is this episode about? Well, it's about the intentional choices that I am still in the process, in the journey of making when I work with students in the assistant principal's office. It's really about how I want to treat them when they are here for even a disciplinary reason. So students still have to come here for hard reasons. So what do I want to do to make a difference so that when they come here, they don't dread it? And often they come here because they choose it when they're getting in some hot water. So the first word I want to talk about is look. When I first started working in the assistant principal's office, I thought I had to be super duper efficient. Like, I get this report, I got to get after this report, I got to make a quick decision, and I got to move on. Because as a teacher, I was used to getting that to-do list done. But one of the things I've realized is that I have got to take time to step back and look. And a lot of the time, what that might mean is when a student is in the office, their initial response or their initial anger or blow up or whatever, if I take time to step out of the situation and look, I'm going to see some things that I might not see when I am in the heat of the moment. So I always try to step back and look and give it a little bit of time. You know, when I became an assistant principal, I asked my new superintendent, Steve Teeters, shout out to Mr. Teeters, what is the advice that you would give a new AP? And he said, you never have to make a decision quickly. Now, are there a couple of things that have to be made on the spot? Absolutely, but there are very few. When you are deciding the trajectory of a student's life, you want to step back. You want to look. And then I've realized I just can't take it personally. It's really important for me to understand that there is something going on with that student, and usually it has nothing to do with me. One of my favorite phrases is, you can't always excuse the behavior, but if you understand the why, you can explain the behavior. And that helps me be a better assistant principal who gives students a reason to feel like they are valued and cared for in the assistant principal's office. My second word is listen. Now, how many times does a kid come down to the office and you know for sure this kid is in the wrong? Many. I tell you what, I know. I mean, I had a kid who just, pulled that sink right off of the wall or pulled that exit sign right off of the ceiling. But in some restorative practices, one of the things I've realized that it is super important for me to listen, because I hear what the words they're saying, but often I can hear the things that are between the words. I remember a student sitting in my office once, and he was walking through something that he had done. And he was also telling me some of the reason why. Now, that didn't excuse his behavior, but it explained it. And he said, Mrs. Weishart, we haven't had any water and I've been staying up all night. And, as he began to name the things that were happening, again, it didn't excuse what he had done, but it certainly explained it. And when I know the why, and when I take the time to listen, students feel valued, even if I have to dole out a disciplinary issue. I've had students tell me before, it's okay, Mrs. Weishart, I understand your hands are tied. That's what the handbook says, but I appreciate you listening. So in order for students to feel like they are valued and being treated well, I always try and listen. My third word is level, and I learned this very, very, very quickly. Often in the assistant principal's office and in our area called student services, we have a lot of students who come maybe with a hot pass where they have been very angry and they've walked out of a classroom because they've had an altercation with another student or with a teacher. And one thing I have realized that instantly helps me de-escalate students is to get down on their level. And what I mean by that is I had a student who walked out of a teacher's classroom, and I can't even repeat on this video what he said on his way out. But he was sitting in our waiting area in our offices, and he was fuming. But the minute I got down on his level and I said, "Hey, kiddo, what's going on?" I wasn't towering over him. I wasn't trying to lord my power over him. I was trying to get on his level, really listen, and step back and look at what he was feeling. Again, I'm not making excuses for the behavior, but we can still treat kids like human beings in the process. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever gotten angry? Have you ever exploded? Have you ever had road rage? Have you ever had a moment where you've maybe made a decision that you know you shouldn't have made? And what a difference it might have made if somebody around you would have stepped back, maybe just listened to you. Maybe that's all you needed was someone to listen. It would have made a huge difference in how valuable you felt in the process. Finally, my last word is lean in. You know, I love the people that I work with here at DeKalb High School. And one of the things that we have really tried to do is lean into these problems instead of running away from them. We've done a lot of mediation with students, and so they know and understand that we're going to offer them opportunities to work out their problems here. So this is going to be a place where we don't just hand them a referral with a disciplinary process on it that says, hey, you have ISS or you have out of school suspension, but we're going to lean in and we're going to say, how can we restore relationships for you? How can we help you as you go back to the classroom? And one of the things we want to do in that process is help teachers to lean into. So the best we can. And, you know, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't always do it right. The first thing I need to do is admit that I'm going to make mistakes. But if I can lean in, listen, look, level on those kids and get right down to it and listen to what it is that they have to talk about, then hopefully it's going to make a difference. But beyond that, it's going to cause a seismic shift in what it feels like to go to the assistant principal's office. I want to end with a story. I had a student in here once, and he was sharing with me how bad things were in his life. And I said, man, that must be pretty frustrating. And he said, Mrs. Weishart, frustrating. He said, that really me off. He was really using some language. But in that moment, I had to listen and stop. This wasn't the moment for me to discipline him regarding his language. This was a moment for me to say to him, hey, kiddo, man, you're right. It's not just frustrating. I don't want to minimize the pain that you've felt. All of us in administration have had some sort of ACEs training about students being in trauma. And so the more that we can provide a space for them where they feel like they are valued, they're heard, they belong. And even when I have to give you an extreme punishment, sometimes even an expulsion, I can love them in the process. So the L word I didn't include was love. But man, I can't be in this job and not love kids. So let's look, listen, level, and lean in as we create a seismic shift in what it's like to go to the assistant principal's office. Thanks.